So if you've been on the internet as long as me, you've certainly heard and seen the meme, "There's only one step and it is crab. Progress to crab. Animals keep evolving into crabs?" Well, I got a couple of things to tell you. 1, it's real. That does keep happening. It's not a joke. 2, it's called carcinization. And 3, it's not unique to crabs. It's just one small part of a phenomenon we call convergent evolution. But first, the crab thing. So there are true crabs, right? Which are all the crabby-looking things that belong to, this group. But true crabs is kind of a dumb name because they're no more or less crabby than any other kind. It's not like they came first and everyone copied their homework. Evolution is blind. And so are you. But I digress. So, I hate to break it to you, but it's only crustaceans that are evolving into crabs. You know, crustaceans, the sea bugs. Crustaceans are freaky little guys that all have a few things in common. A big shell up here, a flexy tail down there, and a whole lot of legs all over the place, which, if you look real close, most of them end in a whole lot of little grabbies. This is important, keep that in mind.
Okay, so that's a cool biology lesson, Professor. What does that have to do with anything?
Hold on, man, I'm getting to it. Be patient. So, being shaped like a shrimp certainly makes you delicious, but it's not that great for doing a whole lot other than scuttling around and scooting backwards from time to time. We'll call this stage 1, the shrimp phase. So, evolution says, hey, we already got little grabby bits on our front legs that we use to shovel food into our mouths. Why not make them bigger and stronger so we can grab food better? So they get... And then they say, well, we already got claws, let's make them bigger and meatier so we can inflict violence with our claws. Let's call this stage 2, the lobster stage. Don't get in front of one of these guys. It will suck. But that's the problem. The front. The back part still has that tasty meaty tail that, since it has to be flexy enough to go backwards quickly, can't have as much armor as the rest of it, and a hungry turtle or something can jump through it without too much trouble. So you start shrinking that delicious tail down, tucking it underneath you, and before you know it, your claws cost $45 a pound and you're running a fast food joint. You have become crab. This shows a trend that occurs over and over and over in crustaceans. Make claws bigger, make tails smaller. So many sea bugs come up with the same solutions for the same issues, and this is convergent evolution. Convergent evolution is the pattern of living things evolving very similar appearances, traits, and behavior to address similar challenges in their environments. Creatures all around the world and across multiple eras are all bound by the same rules of nature and physics, and as a result converge on the same body shapes and structures to solve life's challenges in the same way. Because yes, oftentimes there is a best solution to challenges life might face, or even just one way to do things effectively. This is why we got basically crocodiles 3 times, with the first draft being an amphibian. It's why we got the classic fish shape evolved independently no less than 7 times. It's why vertebrates and mollusks have eyes that work basically the same way, despite our common ancestor not having any eyes at all, because the same design works best when you're kinda squishy. Over and over we see the same adaptations in their attempts to produce the perfect answer to a creature's environment. Create the same organisms over and over again, making siblings separated by millions of years, placing animals oh so familiar in environments that are utterly alien across timescales too big for us to comprehend. And if you'll let me get personal, I like that. It serves as a reminder that no matter where we go, we're all playing by the same rulebook. But one thing that I have noticed is that while the science folks often talk about convergent evolution, they only tend to talk about the obvious, whales and fish, thylacines and wolves, things that, don't get me wrong, are very similar both visually and functionally, but they are very in-your-face about it. But if you crack open the hood and look a little deeper, you will see a wild menagerie of creatures that have evolved a suite of very similar traits despite looking nothing like each other, and often not even having the same environment. So let's talk about them. So, you're a small mammal, and you bulk up. You're maybe not giant, but you're bigger than most critters around. You develop flat feet for better stability, you stick to an omnivorous diet because that's more versatile, and you grow a keen brain to support your complex lifestyle. Since you're a generalist, you decide you want to be able to walk on 2 feet or 4. Your choice. Some of you decide to live in trees, while others aren't so keen on that, but that's okay. You do just fine on the ground, and what the hell, you're gonna grow some big teeth to fight with as well. Does this sound familiar to you? Well, it should, because I just described both apes and bears. Hell, half of those things apply to pigs as well. Or, if you swap out the teeth for claws, most of those things apply to giant ground sloths too. Hey, maybe they all evolved high intelligence because they were subscribed to my YouTube channel. I mean, it couldn't hurt, right? Anyway, what were we talking about? Hey, has anyone ever noticed that elephants and sauropods are similar? Shocker! I know. But both of these giant, clunky herbivores have long, skinny things sticking out of their front ends they can use to grab a ton of leaves without having to move their main body. But, you know, those are herbivores. Their food doesn't run away. But if you're a gharial, your food does run away. Oh, what's a gharial? Well, don't beat yourself up if you haven't heard of them. They are critically endangered. Just letting that sink in. Gharials are a crocodilian native to India, and gharials get pretty big even by croc standards. You'd think they eat crazy big prey, but nope, they eat pretty much nothing but fish. So go ahead, put your hand in there. It'll be fine. Probably. Anyway, how do they eat small, nimble fish when they have to lug that huge body around? The key is that skinny little snout. It's so small and light that it can whip around in the water to catch fish without having to launch their whole huge bodies like crocs usually have to do to catch prey. And the same thing applies to plesiosaurs. They're huge but have long, skinny necks to grab fish without water resistance. Chameleons are slow as hell, but they hunt zippy little bugs because they have a great big long tongue that does all the fast for them at range, so the rest of its body can just kinda chill. Even Opabinia, one of those Cambrian freaks, is an honest-to-goodness trunk that it used to grab prey. Over and over you see creatures, mostly predators, that are kinda big and cumbersome but have a long, fast appendage that either grows out of their face or has their face on the end of it, for grabbing food fast without burning through more energy than they need to. Like having a built-in one of these things. On your face. Man, I wish I had a long face. Or a long neck. Or both. No wonder this keeps happening. If you find yourself a long, stringy, or squishy lad, vulnerable to the predations of horrible brutes, what is a little guy to do? Well, you could just get faster like a chump. Or you could turn your front half into a single big shield to protect your important organs, while leaving a tail out back that helps you move around. Yeah, it doesn't protect your backside too well, but it protects you in the direction you're going well enough, which is all you need most of the time, so your front half becomes a brick wall, while the rest just a little something out back to push you forwards. We can see this with horseshoe crabs and tadpole shrimp, which is not a real shrimp, plus early fish like heterostracans and osteostracans. This thing, again, which is an even earlier vertebrate prototype, and my favorite critter to hop on this trend, frogs. No, not those frogs. These frogs. What's the difference? Well, you see, most frogs don't have a whole lot of bones in them, which leaves them a tad vulnerable and not super well equipped for eating anything that isn't tiny or soft. But Pac-Man frogs, and yes, they're really called that, have what's called a hyperossified skull, which is the smart science man term for having a skull that's way bigger and way bonier than a regular frog's head, and naturally, they use it for eating, because now they can swallow bigger things and bite harder. I don't have a way to end this section, so moving on. This one's my favorite. Okay, but what is a filter feeder exactly? Imagine, if you are able, a pasta strainer. Lose the water, keep the pasta. Minimal effort. Now imagine you are the pasta strainer, and instead of pasta, it's other living things what don't much care for getting ate. Most people think of filter feeders as whales, and it usually stops there. But the list of filter feeders is longer than the list of people who evolved into fish, somehow. This list, which is not even close to complete, includes whales, 2 kinds of shark, whale and basking, a crab-eater seal, which, despite the name, eats krill, not crabs, sea pens, sponges, stomatosuchus, which is a crocodile whale, another ordovician freak by the name of Agyrocassus, basically an arthropod whale, Leedsichthys, a fish whale, which was the biggest bony fish ever, fun fact, flamingos, bamboo shrimp, web-spinning spiders, which substitute water for air, and humans. if we use a fishing net. Clearly, filter feeding works. So why does filter feeding work so well? Because it lets you gulp down big numbers of critters that are otherwise too small to be worth it to catch individually, and get a lot of them at once. It's like buying in bulk. It's why the biggest animals on Earth can eat pretty much nothing but krill. Convergent evolution is fun, but it also tells us a lot about how life on Earth works, and how creatures in the distant future, or even on other planets, might adapt to the circumstances of their environment. The laws of physics are the same everywhere in the universe, so some alien critter we run into could very well have a look we find oddly familiar, or have behavior just like what we see on Earth. It helps us study what long-extinct animals might have acted like, based on what we know about animals today. So, next time you see an alien that's basically just a human, or acts just a little bit too much like a dog, take a moment to think. That science fiction might just be science fact.